They're in the waiting room.
So, okay, go ahead. Question?
I was just going to ask about our concert. Can you just mute everybody that comes on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's option number one. I'm thinking about having some special guests at the concert. And so those people I would have to probably unmute myself, or if one of our other, like for example, Peggy Schultz has Treasure at Skagit Valley, she can, what's the word? Peggy, are you there?
Yeah,
Anyway,
I am.
okay, you can join as kind of a co-host, right? Isn't that?
Well, I did last time, but I noticed this time I haven't seen the notifications when somebody gets in, so I don't know.
Yeah. We'll have to figure that out in the next 2 months, but yeah. So I believe that it's the kind of thing that I can delegate, that I can have some people assist me to watch out for people who are participating in ways that we don't want them to, like what Pat was just talking about, or B, we want them to be talking, we want them to be on, like for example, Michael McGlynn, the Anuna, he may come to our concert actually, so I'm excited about that.
Cool.
And yeah, so good. So hey, we're
maybe
at 6.
David Hamilton.
Yeah, but you're stealing my thunder, Lee. So so yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and start. Does everybody? I should have asked you this while we were all just chatting. You have your glasses and straws and
no.
Okay.
I forgot.
Just consider it a regular thing. We're gonna need to have them every time. So yes, we'll do more straw phonation today. One of the things that I want to do on straw phonation after we warm up some is actually sing Peace, Peace through our straws, but we'll get to that in a bit. First of all, let's just do we're going to start with the same kind of warm-ups we've been doing, which means start with just glissando. And now I'm thinking about this. I've been getting people's recordings, and it's great to hear people singing and starting things off. And I'm getting some more ideas. Of course, this is what happens when you hear singers. Then you think, okay, this is what we can talk about in rehearsal. So I would like to do some glissandi, and I'd really like you to pay attention to. There's a visual aspect, right, with the straw with the water. You can see the continuity of the bubbles, the consistency of the bubbles. And that's going to be a representation of the consistency of the breath that you're using, which should tell you something about the quality of tone and how continuous and how smooth that is. So I really want you to be paying attention to that, not just blowing bubbles, okay? So glissando, start anywhere in your range, low and go high. Here we go. Okay, that was a long one. I need to do another one. So we'll do 3 of those glissandos, up and back down. Take your time. Here we go. And I'm going to do one more. Here we go. Okay, good. So, don't know if you noticed anything about how consistent your tone was. I would also like to do, we got a couple names coming up in the chat last week for these shapes. Either you can call them like a car revving up. Brian and Karen, that was your name for it. Like a car revving up. Now with the straw, go ahead. So. Or you can think of it as a roller coaster. That I don't remember whose idea that was to call it. Maybe it was Gene. Yeah. So I was thinking about this, about like the difference between car revving up and roller coaster. I was thinking about how that has there's an implication in terms of the power that's being used, how much effort. A car revving uses a lot of power in it, whereas a roller coaster may or may not be using the power, certainly when it's going up, but after a while, it's a lot of coasting. So the reason why I say that is, now let's do a little bit of roller coaster and be aware of the amount of power that you're using in your breath, the amount of effort that you're putting into it. Go ahead and let it be coasting sometime like a roller coaster is, so that you're not always pushing, and be aware of how much you're pushing when you're putting effort into it. Let's experiment with this, okay? So roller coaster at your own speed. Here we go. I think maybe it'll be helpful if you move. I don't know. I'm having a hard time visualizing it in my mind without actually doing it. So maybe we should all do roller coaster with our bodies, because this is going to tie into something I want to do later anyway. So a little bit of shape with your roller coaster here. Maybe the kiddie roller coaster. Okay, that was fun. All right, so I have to make a confession here. Actually, I had a appointment scheduled, a lesson, sort of exchange barter lesson with a friend, with my colleague Scott Kovacs, who is the person who I think of as knowing the straw phonation well in my life, that he was willing to meet with me and answer questions and coach me on it. But he has his dad passed away, and he had to go down to Phoenix to take care of some things, so we had to put that off. So we'll do it in a few weeks, I think, and I won't. I didn't have another quick thing to do instead. So send your questions to me about straw phonation, and I will pass them on to him when we meet. But meanwhile, we can continue. And so the point is, we just did a roller coaster thing. I'm not sure if I can really apply that very well. It was kind of an experiment. So if you learned something, you want to comment? Anybody have something to say? Okay, right. So Peggy, go ahead.
Just that I'm finding it's getting easier than it was when we first started.
Good.
I can actually hear pitches with it, and it's not just noise.
Good. That's a big thumbs up. Yeah, excellent. I was thinking, yes, go ahead, Marilyn.
I just found that was a good kind of warm up for me to get into our songs, doing the straw phonation.
Good. And I think that for me, when I use the straw phonation, what I find is, even if I wasn't really thinking about my breath as clearly as I might have beforehand, after I do the straw phonation, then that really ties it in for me. It makes me engage much more effectively. So let's go on. Let's do some melodic exercises like we did last week, and then we'll move on to a few tunes. But first of all, let's just scale up and back down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start on C. There's your first pitch. So we'll do a series of these. I'll give you pitch. So here's 1, 2, 3, and here we go. And here. Here. And here. One more. Good. Okay. Yes. Now we all wipe ourselves off. Somebody pointed out that they started to use a lid with their glass or whatever it was. Yeah, Bob, and I know other people were doing that too. You have to watch out for that though, because if it's too tight fitting a lid, it's going to change the pressure and it's going to make it a lot harder for you to do it. So just be aware of that as a possibility. Okay, there was something I was going to say and I can't remember, so let's just go move on. Oh, I know what it was. So when I demonstrate for you, when I sing it and I'm conducting and I'm showing you the breath at the same time too, I have a lot of information I need to convey to you, which is what the new pitch is, right? And that makes it so that I breathe at the last quarter note, the last beat before I sing. So if I were to demonstrate, it's like, you know, and here, and you see I breathe just on the last beat before I sing. You don't have to do that. You could be breathing, you could let go of your breath from the prior exercise earlier and take a little bit more time, a half note or 3/4 of the measure to breathe in. This might be a useful thing. I'm thinking women, for you in Betelehemu, especially the long phrase part, right? You got a half note there to breathe. And it might be better for you to build the habit of taking that breath for a half note rather than just a quarter note. It might give you a quality of ease and relaxation that it might feel a little bit more rushed if you're breathing on the quarter note instead of the half note. So if I were to leave out that pitch change and to demonstrate what I'm talking about you doing, that might sound like this. So so there's more time for me to take the breath. It's a different quality of breath. Let's experiment with that together. Go back down to C major. Does anybody have questions about this? Does this make sense? I'm looking for hands or unsure. Okay. Oh yes, Bob, that's a thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, so here's that C again. And I think, well, you breathe when you want to and don't necessarily breathe when I'm breathing. 2, 3, and go. Here. Here. Let's try something. Let's transition directly over to Betelehemu. You don't need your sheet music. We're just going to sing the first phrase like, here's a D, it's on D. So, no, that's not right. Try this. So, so, that's about the tempo. We'll take it. Re, pa, pa. Except breathe first, go, jule. Let's try that with the straw. Noticing the same kind of what I was pointing out before about how much time you have to breathe in between the phrases. So we'll loop it. We'll do Baba Bojule, Baba Fahenti. It's all this, well, it's not all the same, but that's all right. Just loop it and let's do that phrase a few times and see how it falls into your breath as you're doing it with straw phonation. So again, here, this pitch is for the sopranos. Tenors, go ahead with sopranos. Altos, that's your pitch. 2, 3. Switching to soprano. Easy lips, easy neck. Okay, gonna stop. So I'm curious, what did you, Mark, you have a comment?
I wasn't clear if you wanted the basses and tenors to sing the bass and tenor part or
Oh,
sing the others.
Like the yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted the tenors and basses to sing along with the sopranos and altos to sing their part, either one. But whatever you did. Did you do the Betelehemu part? Okay, because that would be a different kind of technique, which is also interesting as well. So let's all do this now. Tenors, basses, and sopranos and altos go ahead and sing along with. Let's do there's a B flat, there's an F for the tenors. Try this. This is what I'm going to experiment with now. This is all experimenting. So
It's better, yeah.
I'm reiterating, just like Betelehemu. I'm thinking about a little bit of a pulse of air on each of those notes. Let's experiment with that. Here we go. 1 and 2. I think it's not a bad thing to have it be clarified in your mind where the breath is used, where the breath comes in for the tenors and basses, just as well as for the sopranos and altos. So now let's go back though. Sopranos and altos, any comments on when you were singing? Because I'm especially interested in how you did it when you were singing the ah-wah-ee-oh-ree part with the straw phonation. Anybody got something to comment on?
Adam,
Jean.
can you hear me?
Is iPhone, is that Shirley?
That's me, Judy. I haven't
Judy.
figured out how to rename it yet.
Okay,
And I can't.
I can do that for you. Okay, meanwhile, Jean, go ahead.
Well, each time the breath support was better.
Good, good. Could you comment on how it changed, why it got better?
Maybe I was taking bigger breaths in between.
Okay, so one thing that I really want to say hooray about is that it didn't get harder as you did it. Because
I took the lid off too, and that made it lots easier.
Yeah, that's the thing. It will change the pressure. But again, it's possible, hang on, Peggy, it's possible that as you go through this phrase, when you're recording Betelehemu, especially for the women, for the sopranos and altos, that it could feel like you're getting more and more uptight. You might even be keeping carbon dioxide in your lungs that you haven't got rid of, that you haven't released the breath fully enough. And so the aggregate is that you get more and more uncomfortable, actually, and it gets harder. So if you found that it was like it was for Jean and it got easier, that's a big thumbs up. And if not, I'd be interested to know. But Peggy, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed the first thing doing the tenor part that I realized that I was making the break in here using my throat.
Aha.
And I could feel when I dropped down to use my diaphragm that it made me aware of that. I wasn't realizing how much I was doing that from here.
Okay, that's excellent. That's another really good insight. And I'm seeing sometimes on the screen from all of your video feeds, I'm seeing sometimes people tightening. Pat talked about that last week or recently about the possibility of tightening your loops too much on the straw and problems that come along with that. So that's why we want to think about that being easy and free in the mouth and the neck. But excellent insight, Peggy. Anybody else have something to add? I'm going to look on. Yep, go ahead. Who's that?
That's the iPhone, me.
Okay,
Judy.
that's Judy.
Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't find a regular size straw. So using a little coffee one, I think I didn't get rid of the carbon dioxide because that was really hard.
Yeah, well,
hard to push through.
One question, are you doing that straw in water or just by itself?
Yes. No, in water.
You can take that straw out of the water because a coffee straw being a smaller diameter means that you already have the back pressure. You're already working against that pressure just because it's such a small aperture. And that's what the water provides with the larger diameter straw. So I'm interested if you do a little bit more with the straw and no water. And that goes for anybody with that smaller size straw. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see. So what I actually, let's move on. Let's go on to sing Peace, Peace. And I actually meant to pull up my score, but I hadn't done that yet. So Peace, 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 something like that. I don't, shoot. Okay, good. So now I have it. I don't know if you need to look at it, but I needed to see what key it was in first, just to start. So what I intend is that we'll sing the main melody, peace, peace. Well, let's get an A first. That's it. Peace, peace, peace on earth and goodwill to all. Right now, I realize not everybody knows this song, or maybe almost everybody. So I will put the sheet music up here on the screen. And also what I thought is I would play, rather than me sing it, I'll straw along, but I think I'm going to play the, from our website, I'm going to play the recording that I put on the website for your listening music. So that's the chorale singing in 2014 and the recording from the concert there. So I've gone now there, and now I'm going to shortly share the screen with you all, and I'll share the sheet music and I'll share that recording, and we'll do at least the first verse. What I'd like you to do is sing with the straw phonation on Peace, Peace. So we're doing a little bit of reminder of how the tune goes, maybe a little bit for those who are less familiar with it, a little learning. And also, I'm pretty sure you probably never sung this song with straw phonation before. So see what it tells you about the way you sing the phrases of this very familiar song, for those of you who know it well. Okay, any questions before we go on? Everybody clear? Okay, so I'm going to share the screen now and start the Peace, Peace. Can you hear it? Can somebody give me a thumb up? Okay, good, thank you. Now I'm switching over to the sheet music. Okay, going to stop for a moment and just check in with people. What was that like? I'm curious. What'd you notice or find out? Good, Bonnie? All right, good, thanks. Linda, go ahead. You're muted, so you'll need to unmute. Nope, still can't hear you, Linda. Can you go ahead? All right.
Adam? It's
Yeah,
Judy.
Judy, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a little bit easier with out of the water, but I still find myself looking for a breath a lot sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say track down a straw that's bigger and try it in the water and see what that does for you also. I mean, you may not be able to do that now, but
Right.
Go to McDonald's.
I can't figure out how to get the camera to work on my phone, so I'll just watch you guys tonight.
Okay. Well, you can still sing. You could do it on anything we're doing. You could do it on a different semi-occluded vocal tract consonant. Okay, Linda, are you there?
Yes. So I found out that my straw was too close to the bottom of the glass, and that there was a lot of pressure, and I really worked at it. So.
Yeah. You know, I suppose you could. Now this is me outside of my knowledge base here, but it occurs to me that you could do that intentionally. You could increase the pressure, kind of like you increase the amount of weight that you do in a certain given on some reps, to kind of challenge yourself a little bit, and then you step back to a lighter pressure for usual singing. Something to think about. I don't know. Other comments about Peace, Peace and straw phonation? Okay, yeah, Lee, go ahead.
I think my bubbles were making so much noise that I was having a hard time hearing the music.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think that's actually, I'm going to say that's a good thing because that means you got good tone coming through through your bubbles. So one thing I wanted to ask people was, were you generally able to get through the phrases in one breath, or did you have to breathe in between? And when you sing that song, you know, it's the end of a concert, maybe your voice is tired, maybe you're emotionally, you know, something. Does that mean that in those concerts, have you been able to sing those phrases full all the way through as well? Is that any different with straw? Just curious.
Adam?
Yeah, Koisi, go ahead, hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I realize that I haven't looked at the music for probably 20 years. And so I've been breathing in a place, I think it was on the third line before the end of that line. And then on the final line, there's actually a rest where we can breathe. And I don't think I usually did breathe.
Uh-huh. That is a little bit of what I was going for, you know, because there have been times where I considered, how am I going to, I'm talking about over the last 6 years, how am I going to ask the choir to articulate the C's of peace? Do we want peace, peace, peace on earth? Or do we want peace, peace, peace on, no breath in between, no break in between? And I think I might have tried to do both of those things at one time or another, and it hasn't always been consistent. And some of that is because, well, I just haven't taken the time to really try to solidly to change it. But it's a habit. It's, you know, a long number of years of tradition of people singing it and not necessarily thinking about how they're singing it. So that is part of what my goal was with doing the straw phonation with this piece, is that we actually be thinking about that and how we are going to articulate the phrases. Other thoughts? I think it would be worth doing a little bit more of this piece on straw phonation. So why don't we go on to the second verse? We'll continue on from where we were, and sopranos, right? So you could be jumping up to that descant part. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen again with you. We'll continue on with piece. So,
former chorale members, will you please stand and join us?
Right, so we're back up here.
Future chorale singers. That's all of you. Silent magic. Thank you all.
That's a nice recording. Okay, you sang well, by the way. You all sang well. So,
Question.
yes, Wendy, go ahead.
So, I find that my diaphragm, I can really feel the workout. And I was just wondering if that was something that you're experiencing also, because we're going through such a concentrated, if you're feeling it as much as we are.
I think, well, I couldn't say how much each person is feeling it, but I'm reminded, I'm reminded of the work that it takes to do to be steady and consistent. And but go on. Anything else to add, Wendy, on that? Okay. Or other people, comments. I had a thought I wanted to share, but I want to check and see what you're thinking first. Okay. So one of the things that I was thinking about, and I had never really noticed, it's again, like Koizi was saying, looking at the music, you can learn all kinds of things. When I looked at the tenor and bass part, I think I'm going to share the screen so I can show you this. When I looked at the tenor and bass part on the first section, the first bit of it, right? Silent night, breath, holy night, breath, all's calm breath, all's bright breath. After that, it's all 4-measure phrases through to the rest of the piece. I don't remember the tenors and basses breathing every 2 measures in the past, and that's certainly not something I would have necessarily encouraged you to do. So I'm interested, guys, tenors, basses, sorry, do you recall whether you sing silent night, holy night, all is like that with the breaths in between each sub-phrase? What do you remember?
I tended to make it a 4-measure phrase.
Yeah, okay. George, you too? Peggy? Okay. Yeah, Bob. Okay, so, and I think that's good. I think that's the way I prefer it. And I also think in terms of the straw phonation that's better training for us, makes us focus on the breath and how long we can carry it well and steadily. So yeah, so I think that when we sing this for the recording purposes, I think I might ask you to sing those as 4-measure phrases, and we'll modify, I'll change the notation so that that's clear. I won't change the notation, I can't do that, but I'll make some marks on the paper. Okay, on the digital paper. All right, so I think that's good for straw phonation. As you may have noticed, Stephanie has just joined us. Thank you. Welcome, Stephanie. Say hello, would you? Are you there, Stephanie? Was that a hello? I heard.
Now I am.
Okay, good. There you are.
Yes, it's really good to see you all. I missed you all a lot.
So I asked Stephanie to join us. I noticed when I went back over some of the recording of last week's rehearsal that there were some points at which I missed people raising their hands and wanting to ask questions, things like that, and some things in the chat as well. This is one of those things that I had asked Stephanie to help with on that first rehearsal back in September. And so I've asked her to come back and do that again. And my feeling is that we'll try that out for a few weeks. The board has approved that we can spend that money to see how the rehearsals go with Stephanie joining us. And I think that it's possible that more will develop as Stephanie spends some time with us in rehearsal about how she can be helpful in this context, having both her and me here. So Stephanie, don't hesitate to jump in when you hear things or when you want to reinterpret something that I've said, because I know that you've got musical insights to share that are going to be useful. So, okay, let's see now. We're close to a break, but thoughts or comments? Oh, I've got a lot of things to tell you about. Okay, hang on. So I can do some of this before we take a break. Ruth, do you want to go ahead with what you had?
Did I try your...
I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm just reminding you that if you have any donations to make instead of our dues, Peggy is accepting all of those. I know I had forgotten about it. I was just merely having a good time and forgetting to pay anything. So if anybody else is in my boat, make sure you just send it to Peggy, and it'll help us with our expenses. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
I would add, though, that the people who have donated over what was expected and are we're doing very well. That's not to say we couldn't use continuing donations, but we are doing well. So for those of you who have already donated, thank you very much for what you've done. So let's see. Just a few.
Adam,
yeah.
Just on that, I see a lot of your names because I'm now getting them all organized. So they will be deposited in the next, what's today, Tuesday? I'll probably make a trip to Mount Vernon on Thursday to get them all deposited. So if you haven't seen it, that's why. I don't make as frequent trips to the post office as I used to under the circumstances. So,
yeah. Bob, you had a thought?
Yeah, I got a call from McIntyre Hall way back when this concert was canceled, and I had purchased 10 tickets, and they wanted to know what I wanted to do, if I wanted a refund or donate, proceed, you know, the money. So I said donate it to the chorale.
Ah.
It would be nice if we got some sort of receipt, if you will, for tax purposes. But anyway, that was my donation for last spring.
Thank you.
We discussed that at the board meeting, and they never sent anything that we could use. We have no idea. We just have a total. There was no breakdown on where the money came from. So
okay.
I don't know if that's something you could contact them about to find out, but they did not pass that information on to us.
Okay, well, I asked them if they would give me a receipt, and they said, no, you get it from the chorale. So
perhaps this is something to follow up with. Board members, can we talk about that at some point? So, okay. All right, so on to a few things about recording. Just a few comments about things. Mostly these have come from feedback that people have given me. So this is from your peers doing things and discovering them, and sometimes having issues and sometimes having new discoveries that might be helpful for everybody. So Voice Record Pro seems to be doing some weird things to some people's tracks, as in leaving out sections of people's tracks. How many of you have experienced something like that? Okay, so a couple, I'm seeing a couple. Yeah, so it would be interesting to know why it's happening to those people it's happening to. If you're using Voice Record Pro and it's working for you, that's great. If you discover, I would say maybe the first time you record with Voice Record Pro, listen through the whole thing and see if it's all there. And if it is, then go ahead and go cautiously forward using it, but just be aware that it's possible it might be dropping some of your recording out, and you're working too hard for that. So consider a different app. Just straight voice record is another possibility, not Pro, but just voice record. Stephanie, can you type that voice record into the chat, please? Okay, so, I have a new rule for all of your recordings that you submit to me. I haven't said this before until just this week, and that is, don't delete them. When you send them to me, please don't delete them from your own computer, because if something happens in the email or if I lose it, we're out. So you want to keep that. You want to keep those files. You don't have to listen to them again. All you have to do is keep them. Okay, so that just in cases. All right, let's see, page turns. Oh, well, let's go on to airplane mode. Jill, are you here tonight? I think I saw you. Okay, well, I'll just go ahead. Go ahead. Can you comment on what you found about airplane mode?
Well, I found that after recording, it was in airplane mode, and after recording, I wanted to do another process, email it or save it, and I did that process and to iCloud, and when I went on iCloud, it was not there. And I couldn't understand why. I got frustrated and turned everything off. And the minute I turned the airplane mode off, it appeared. So obviously when you're in airplane mode, it's kind of in limbo. And so you need to turn that off immediately and then proceed to email and do whatever.
Now, I had a theory, Jill, that you put it in airplane mode so that you wouldn't get any calls while you were recording or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you...
I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll go ahead. You come back when you think about it. Okay.
That's exactly what the problem is. Airplane mode turns off everything except what's inside the phone. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell service, there's no any signal that could come out of the phone that might have some chance of messing with the airplane's systems is shut off. So that what you're seeing is exactly the case. As soon as you turn airplane mode on, it starts doing things, and you will usually catch up to things you've tried to do but got delayed.
Okay, good. So everybody knows that about airplane mode, that if you have it on while you're recording, then you won't be able to see it until after and send it until after you turn airplane mode off. It's interesting, all these little details. Go ahead.
If you're using a Bluetooth headset or a Bluetooth microphone, airplane mode should turn off Bluetooth also. So those won't work in airplane mode.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. All right, so continuing on, I wanted to show you, I had a few people ask me about page turns, that they were having their page turns show up on their recording. That was quite loud and disturbing even. And so we talked about hole punching your music, excuse me, so that it's high in the binder, it's above the level. That's one thing you can do. But you also notice, I'm going to need to go down here a little bit with the desk. I've got this ruler, old style ruler, on my music stand here. And if I do this, probably put it upside down, rest the binder on the ruler. When I turn the pages, it's not going to scrape along the bottom edge of the music stand anymore. And so I can be very, oops, it usually is pretty stable for me. Maybe I did it the other way, can't remember. Anyway, I did a lot of the recording with it this way and it worked out just great. It's just because you're all watching now. It's not working. Oh well, you get the idea. You can also use pencils sometimes, or something that's very stable and is going to stay in place. Not like that. Never mind. Anyway, so get it out of the way of the ledge of the music stand. Make as little noise as you can. Turn your pages ahead of time, right? Those sorts of things. Stephanie, you got something?
Yeah, maybe it was a little different for me doing the piano, but I found that if I just taped everything and put it on the wall, it worked the best for me. Something like this. Okay. So no page turn, but sing on is 20 pages. So that makes a little bit of a production.
Yeah, well, and the good news is we're not trying to record video, so that will work. I've heard about that being a problem for people doing virtual choirs, and that they put all their music up and then, yes. Yeah, so, okay. So good. Let's see, what else? I think it's just about, Jill, did you come up with what you were going to say? Okay, I'll let you interrupt if you did. One more thing about Christmas memories, right? So I've been getting Eric Jeffords, and I have been going back and forth on the emails, and he's been recording versions of the solo for me. And we had a little bit of trouble. He lives in Capitol Hill in an old house that's very sound saturated, whatever. And so he was having trouble with like police car chases and things like that, getting into his solo audio. But he seems to have found a room in the house now that's safe from sounds like that. And pretty quick here, I should be able to get a final version from him. And then after that, I can record the practice guides, the vocal parts of all the choir, and then get those out to you. If you saw in the email, the solstice song, practice guides are all done, ready to go, listen to and practice with, and we'll spend a little bit of time on that today. Meanwhile, it's time to take a little break. So let's take 5 minutes and we'll be back at 7:20.
And now I can.
Adam, this is Pat.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, I've made about 15 recordings on my voice recorder, and so finally found one that I thought was, I renamed it. I can't seem to send it. And I don't know if there's a tech person who can tell me what's wrong. What happens is I get to it, it's called Voice Recorder, and I can find my file. But what happens is it says to me, oops, that's the wrong thing. Just a minute. It says I have to upgrade to Voice Record Pro, which I did. I mean, I already have.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on. What it says, it gives me all these select options. Can you see the screen? Give me all these select options, but on the email or the convert to MP3, they all say Pro on the top, and I can't do it on the one I recorded on. So, is there any way to get around this? Because I've got some recordings on here.
Okay. Well, first of all, Brian, anything from you on this? No. Okay.
Not that I can think of, but I can take time sometime to, to try and help out somehow.
I don't think this is Voice Record. It's called Voice Recorder. And it wants me to go to Voice Recorder Pro, which costs me $3.99. I can do that. My husband asked me, is that a subscription or a one-time purchase price? Do you know?
I think it's one time.
Well, $4 isn't a big deal. I can do that.
So is your voice recorder icon, does it look like a little cassette tape?
It looks like, just a second. It looks like that.
Oh, that's different. What kind of phone do you have? iPhone or Android?
It's an iPhone. It's an iPhone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's different than what I'm seeing.
That is different.
I got it records well. It's just
that. Work. Can you see the icon there? The lower one, no. So the lower one is Voice Record Pro.
Yeah, I've got that on my phone. I've got Voice Record Pro on my phone.
Right, but I'm saying the one, sorry, I wasn't very clear. The one up above that looks like a little cassette tape. That's Voice Recorder. You might look for that one. I've been experimenting with that one and it seems to work.
I have one called Voice Memos that I used when I was doing choir at my church, when I would just plunk out some things on the piano and send it to them. It's not necessarily a great recorder, but I know I can send from that.
I think that the recording is going to be the same quality, basically. I don't. Okay. I would. You can send me something and I will listen to it and I'll tell you if it's a problem.
I'll have to record again, but that's okay. Well, we'll work on it. I didn't like anything I recorded anyway.
Okay. Well, actually, there is one other option, and that is that Brian has, and I'll make sure I'll tell the group when everybody's back. Brian's got the mechanism going on the website where you can upload your file there directly through the website. You have to somehow save it somewhere where you can get access to the website, which might be your phone. But anyway, that is another option for you now. So
it's good practice.
Yeah.
15 times through the song. My husband can sing it with me.
Can't figure it out, Patricia, please give me a call or drop me an email or something, and we can sit down, do a Zoom or something and figure it out.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Adam, could you make sure that you're not logged into the website editor?
Yeah.
Make some of those changes.
Okay. You know, it's weird because I don't really know. I guess if I'm closed out of the screen, then I'm logged off. Does that make sense? Does that seem right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that should be good now.
It may just take time to make sure you're not there, but I'll check it in a minute.
Okay. Good. So let me see here.
And one thing I noticed about the Voice Record Pro was that when you attach it to an email on my iPhone, that the email doesn't automatically send until you open the email and you cycle it to send and receive. It just sits there. So if you just attach to an email and then you don't go to the phone and open your email and cycle it to where it sends and receives, it just sits there.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, the first time you try to do it, it tells you something about needing to load a server. And that's the server for Voice Record Pro to be able to connect to the email system. So if you say no, you won't be able to send emails. You have to upload that or install that Voice Record Pro server.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, it's 7:20. We can come back. And I think what I want to do now is spend some time working on rhythm for a little bit. So we'll work on rhythm both in Sing On and in Betelehemu, and also in Solstice Song just a little bit. So go ahead and pull out your sheet music for Sing On first. So again, I'm appreciative to the people who have been submitting recordings, and I'm thinking of, and here's something I need to tell you all. There is not really a hard deadline, not for quite a while, in terms of when you get these recordings to me. I figure I've got to have things before the beginning of December. But I'm figuring that most of the recordings are going to come in, they're going to trickle in over time, over the next 6 weeks or so. So as long as a fair majority of them come in before that point, I'll be okay if there are some last ones coming in as late as after Thanksgiving or something like that. And the reason why I say that is I don't know for each of you where you sit in this recording process or the idea of recording. Are you in a position where it's like, no way, I'm never going to do that, ain't going to happen, thank you? Or are you, I'm not ready for it, or I've been trying, or various different variations on that? And so as we continue to work through the next several weeks and work on both the new songs that we haven't been working on yet, Solstice Song, Christmas Memories, Peace, Peace, perhaps other, as we work on those songs, that will give you the opportunity, if you have not yet made the recording, to continue to get more and more settled in how you are singing so that you can come to a point where you have more confidence and you can submit something. All that said, I need to make sure, I need to know that I'm going to get enough recordings coming in that will have enough to make a choir. So that is something that has, maybe just a little nervous. I have 9 recordings so far. So 9 people have submitted recordings, and I'm hearing about other people who are planning to, and that's good. And as I promised, you do not have to submit a recording. Hang on, Ed. You don't have to submit a recording in order to participate, but I do need to know that enough people are going to submit recordings that will have a choral sound. I think, I did it with 23 students, one of whom never sent me a recording. So 22 students was enough to make a choral sound with my college choir. And I suspect that would be the case here too. I'd like to hear more than 22. And 40, 50 would be great, because it'll make it sound fuller. When we present this music, we'll be making it clear that this is a part of the chorale. This is not the full contingent of the chorale, and that's going to be fine. But the more people who participate, the richer the sound. Now, Ed, you had a comment?
9 usable tracks?
Yes, yes, yes. And you're hinting, yes, you submitted one, Ed, and it is definitely usable. I'm very happy to have it. Thank you, Jean. Yes.
Well, as I told you, it took me 18 tries, but the click track, you are so welcoming. It's not scary.
Good.
You're smiling and encouraging, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad. Good. Good. Okay. I won't stop doing that in the video click tracks for sure. Which reminds me, Betelehemu, I'm going to work on that one very soon, and that should be ready in a couple days, I think. So I'm not sure where people sit in terms of, can we go? Can we go? Can we do that Betelehemu now, please? Or maybe you're like, well, So, all right, let's go to Sing On, then work on some rhythmic things. It's all about the syncopation. There are some things where I have the feeling that not everybody is feeling that syncopation. And when we're together, rehearsing together, it kind of helps you to hear everybody else doing it, and you discover whether you're on or not. That makes it harder when we're rehearsing in this context, but we can still do some things. So let me just have you do this. I would like to set up, and I wish I'd made some notation for you. That didn't occur to me until now. Let's just do this. We're going to go bop, 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 bop. like that. Bop, 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 bop. Again. Bop, 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 bop. Gonna mute everybody. Bop, 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 bop. Okay, so those are just straight eighth notes, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in some extra 16ths like we have in the phrases of Sing On, like bop, 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 bop. Can you do that? Bop, 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 bop. Again. Bop, 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 bop. Again. Bop, 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 bop. We'll generally do 4 in each set of these so that you know how many we're going. So like flowing from your heart is what we just did. We did bop, 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 bop. Do that. Go. Bop, 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 bop. Now do flowing. Flowing from your heart. Say that. Flowing from your heart. So you notice that heart gets a little extra stress because of the syncopation. Flowing from your heart until the day. Let's do all that. Ready? Go. Flowing from your heart until the day. Okay. And then there's, of course, also stirs the music in my soul. So it's ba 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 ba. Here we go. Ba 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 ba. Again. Ba 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 ba. And we're going to change that back to the words, which is stirs the music in my. Stirs the music in my, again, stirs the music in my, once more, stirs the music in my. Okay, good. I'm watching Nancy move a little bit as she's speaking and moving in rhythm, and I've seen some other people do that in rehearsals. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I want to encourage you to do that. Let me just briefly tangent. Do you remember Love Actually, the movie, the Christmas movie came out years ago, and Bill Nighy played the aging rock star who's recording a song, and he's in the studio and he's going, you know, it's kind of feeling the music, right? And it doesn't really matter whether you know the movie or not, but the point is, he's in a studio, nobody's watching, nobody's going to see what his motions are, and he's doing what he needs to do to get into character, to find the musical shape, the musical rhythm. So you don't necessarily have to do this in Zoom where we are watching, but you can do it at home when you're practicing, when you're recording. I actually encourage you to move around as you're singing and let that be part of your musical expression. Okay, let's go back to, what's the other one? Find the things that keep you singing on. That rhythm, listen to it. Find the things that keep you singing. But we're going to go to the ba-ba-ba. We're going to go ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba, ba. Okay, we'll do that again. Ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba. So what I've done is I'm doing a little bit of extra. I could just do ba-ba-ba, ba-ba. We could do that. Ba-ba-ba, ba-ba. Again. Ba-ba-ba, ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba, ba-ba. Now, find the things that keep. Say that. Find the things that keep. Good. Find the things that keep. One more time. Find the things that keep you singing on. It's interesting how often Lane Johnson does this in the piece, that he'll have just a little bit of syncopation, and then the rest of the phrase is all pretty straightforward, duple rhythms, not syncopation at all. So like flowing from your heart until the day is past and gone, straightforward rhythm, and stirs the music in my soul, kind of a little meta syncopation there, but not really much. And then find the things that keep you singing on. So in a way, I like to think of it as, if you can settle into the feeling of the syncopation on those phrases, then you coast out of that syncopation into the more legato, simpler rhythm of the non-syncopated rhythms. So like, for example, find the things that keep you singing on, right? Gives me a chance to open up the voice a little bit and sing with the lyricism at the end of each phrase. So let's do this. Keep your music going. Let's go. I'm going to open up Logic, and I got to let him move there. I'll go over to Sing On then. So I'm going to open up Sing On, and I would like you to work. I'd like you to sing your own parts, as we go. I'm going to play all the mixed parts all together, and we're going to work on that spot that's let me find a page number here. Right, so let's do it from page 5, from letter B, and I'm not gonna, sorry, thinking aloud here. I gotta find the spot in here. So, can you hear, I need to share it with you. I need you to confirm that you can hear the sheet music for it. The recording. Sing on. Okay, good. So there's Sing On at letter B at page 5. I'm going to go back a few measures before that. So you could, if you wanted to, sing all the sections of this chorus at letter B on ba 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 ba. You could sing everything on ba. That would be one way to focus your articulation, focus your attention on those syncopated rhythms. So that's an option, or you can sing the words if you want. So here we go. That's, sorry if it's too loud. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Sing on, whatever comes your way, sing on, sing on. Keep your music going, flowing from your heart until the day is past and gone. Stop there, come out of sharing for a moment. So I'm not exactly sure how much to stress this and how much to spend time on it in the rehearsal, but those spots, those syncopations are some of the places where we want to make sure that the recordings that you do come pretty accurately so that I don't have to do much editing on that. Ed, go ahead.
Others have talked about this other days. Page 13, measure 59, it happens to us all. Would you hold my hand and go through that one, the syncopation?
Sure,
I'm trying
absolutely.
hard and I'm not on.
No, okay, no problem. So we're on page 13 now then, and I'm going to start right on that measure. Well, actually, I'm going to start on the ups and downs. We'll go back one measure, top of 13, first measure. Remember how I talked about how Lane Johnson, the composer, goes back and forth between straightforward notes that don't have any syncopation and then syncopation? So ups and downs and in, those are all just straightforward, no syncopation. Then we get to the syncopation. So if I were to speak that part, it would be ups and downs and in betweens. It happens to us all. Again. Ups and downs and in-betweens, it happens to us all. Remember, of course, that we changed that in the spring and we've changed it back. We're doing it as it's notated on the sheet music. Now, if you think about in-betweens, if you say the word between, and that BE just gets a fraction of time there, it's something you get past to get to tween. In between, that's the first little bit of rhythmic thinking about the rhythm that I would want you to do so that you are clear on how that rhythm goes. Ups and downs and in betweens. Ups and downs and in betweens. Then it happens, right? It happens to us all. Once again, it happens to us all. Ha, to, all. Those are the vowels that get more stress. It happens to us all. Once again, it happens to us all. Good, Stephanie, give me something.
Yeah, Adam, I think you had changed that rhythm to a dotted, to a
Right.
16th and dotted eighth. Are you changing it back?
That's what I was just saying. We changed it in the spring. We're changing it back to the way it's notated.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way you're going. Okay.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Okay, so Ed, would you be so kind as to speak the rhythm for me?
Ups and downs and in betweens, it happens to us all.
Yep, perfect. Sounds great. Good job, Ed. Okay, are you feeling confident about it?
Heck no.
Heck no. All right, do it another 80 times then. Okay, good. I'm going to turn off the mute. Thank you. And go ahead, Linda. Ruth, you're on after Linda.
Okay. I just had a question about the where you're putting on that S. Because when we were through it, you said betweens. But when we sing it, we have to do it right before it, right?
Yeah, here, let's listen to what the recording does, actually, because that is going to be the answer. Where is sunrise and sunset? It's about here. Wait, what's going on? Why do I not hear it? Oh, I haven't done this. That's what I need to do. Okay, come on.
Sunrise and sunset, light will always rise and fall. Ups and downs and in betweens, it happens to us all.
Okay, so there's your answer. Ups and downs and in betweens, it happens. So connect your S of betweens to it. Ups and downs and in betweens, it happens to us all. I remember thinking that if I tried to get you to breathe in that spot, we would have a lot of S's all over the place, or Z's actually, and those would not do too well. Linda, you had something? And you're muted.
Yes, yes. On measure 64 and 65, for some reason, I just have a really hard time coming in at the right time for whatever, and then getting the rhythm correct on the end of whatever, on the anyway, that next measure.
Okay. All right. So let me think about that for a sec.
No breath between teens and it.
That's right. Back on that page before. Yeah. Okay. So if we find a way to carry on, 2, 3, sing on 1, sing on. So when you're when you have the video click track, you won't be hearing the basses and tenors on that at all. You'll hear a little bit of them on the practice guide, so you might work with that a little bit until you're more comfortable with it. But think of it, of course, as a response, right? You are replying to the basses and the tenors who start this chorus section. So if I were, say, to sing the tenor part, right? Like, I want an A flat. Find a way to carry on. Sing on, right? Now, if you think about it being kind of a response, an answer to what the tenors and basses did in advance ahead of you, that might be helpful. I'm trying to think how we can rehearse this over Zoom. Let's see.
Right. I get the seeing on. I can get in there just fine.
Oh, okay.
It's whatever.
Okay.
The rhythm changes, and I'm not total. I'm just off, just a fraction.
Okay. So I see Nancy waving. You have something to add?
I was struggling with that too. And I think looking at my music, I was looking at the rest, going like we say, sing on. No. It all goes through, and it's really not much of a rest. It's the whole thought is sing on whatever comes your way, but there is a small break. And I think I'm getting better now, but I was always.
Okay, well, let's do this. I'm gonna run it on Logic Pro here in a moment. I'm not gonna mute everybody else, but I'm gonna make the tenors and basses quieter. Altos, you have the same issue here, so you might as well practice this also. I was thinking, let's see, if I was singing, right, so if I was singing the soprano part on the bottom of page 14, it'd be 4 and sing on, whatever comes your way. So this takes me back actually to some of the work we were doing on strophonation and the length of the breath that you're taking. So if you take that third quarter breath at the bottom of page 14, second measure, if you take that third beat of the measure and take a comfortable breath there, that may help you with the timing. Actually, Linda, tell me this. Did you find that you were behind or ahead there when you were having trouble?
I was behind.
Yeah, okay. So that,
just like Nancy, it's like, oh,
yeah,
it looks like a big rest, but it's not really.
Yeah. Another way to think about it also is what the tenors and basses are doing in terms of whatever comes your way, sing on. You're moving with them at that point. If you're hearing that in the practice guide. Let's do this again though, bottom of 14. You can sing with me if you want. I'll give us a 3, 4, 1. Yep, go ahead, Stephanie. Go ahead.
Just one thought. What if on that rest, you treated it as the end of sing on? I don't know if Adam will allow that or not, but on what? So that the N is your beat 3, and then there's no rest.
Wait, sorry, Linda, can't hear you. But what I would add to what Stephanie has said is, yes, actually, that is where I want the end, just like what she just did is where I want that end. By the way, Stephanie, are you going to record some audio tracks too? Never mind. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Please do. Please do. All right. So
just take, she's saying just take a real, well, she's saying not take a breath at all.
No, that's not what, she's saying that the end basically falls on that third beat.
Okay.
Right?
And then take a quick breath and go.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the momentum of taking that, of putting the N in that place and releasing it propels you into the next phrase. If I was to be like 3, 4, and 1, sing on, whatever. Now you notice I can't really sing that phrase without getting the scoop in there. I just take it out and it doesn't feel right. So it's like, and that's part of the rhythmic impulse for me. So it's like on whatever, and that heads, that impulse of syncopation of the syllable ev, whatever, is kind of like a little bit of a suspension, not a suspension, a technical term of music, but a moment of lift in the soprano and alto part, which is kind of exciting, I think.
Kind of an expansion of then whatever.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. We're going to go. Good. Let's see how we'll try to apply it. And now I'm going to go back over. I'm going to share the screen with you again, and I'm going to go on that spot. Is that right? Page 14. Let's see. We're about here.
Sing on.
This is sunrise, right? Yep. So we'll skip to about here. Nope. Sorry, that was too early. Top of 14. You'll find a way to carry on. It's hard. 2, 3, sing on. 1. 2, 3, sing on. Music's going on from your heart until the day is past and gone. There's always continue on. Finish the song.
To find the things that keep you singing on.
2 and 3,
sing on. Whatever comes your way.
Oops, sorry.
Sing on. Sing on. Music's going on from your heart until your day is passing on. There's always a way to find the things that keep you singing on. Sing on and find a way to sing and sing on. Sing on.
So, any other questions about Sing On specifically? We touched on the rhythm of those spots that has been a little bit hard for some people. There's more that we could do with that, but but we do probably need to move on unless somebody wants another spot. When Ed said, and Ed being self-deprecating, you know, said, hold my hand a little bit, but when Ed asked for that help, when Linda asked for that help, that's useful, that's good, because then we all get a chance to practice those things. So thank you for bringing those things up. Anything else? Okay. Yes, Stephanie, go ahead.
How do you figure out, without just listening to it beforehand, where the rubatos are going to come? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, do you mean how they're going to hear them when they're recording, or how I did it? I did it just.
No, how they're going to feel it so that they'll record it that way.
Well, that's where the video click tracks come in, because I'm conducting it. You know, it was an after the fact thing, right? Everybody knows that Stephanie recorded this first. I didn't conduct her. She put in her own feeling of what the retards should be, and then I based all my singing on that, and then I based my conducting on that also. So it wasn't easy for me to find those retards and to know exactly where the beat was. And when I was doing a little tapping the cowbell to make the click for you, that was really hard, and I had to do it a lot to get it accurate. So, but all that said, I think that when you end up with the video click track, I think that that's going to give you the information you need to A, know where the beat is, B, know where your breath and where your entrances are in relationship to that beat, because it does change in those places where we have the retards. That's partly what makes a song live and breathe and not be metronomic. So yeah, does that get to what you were saying, Stephanie?
Does, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so let's jump over to Betlehemu.
Adam, before we move, can I ask one question?
Sure, go ahead.
In that section that we were just working on, the F section,
Yeah.
I've debated between singing really full voice or singing it more delicately. The previous version is on forte, and then there are no markings in this section. So should it be more delicate, or how do you feel it?
So actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that's a kind of a larger issue a little bit. Something I realized, so we talked about, for recording distance from your phone of being of arm's length as a kind of a default basis. But what I realized is that's something I told my students at the college. And a fair number, even the majority of my students at the college, were not really singing full voice. They didn't know how. They hadn't ever learned how. And Zoom, because many of them had never sung in a choir before, and Zoom is a hard place to learn how to sing in a choir. So when they were singing with their recorder arm's length away, they were singing probably fairly quietly, not that intensely. And so that was a good distance. If they had been singing with a more focused full tone, like many of you use because you are experienced singers, then it might have been too much. So getting back to your question, Marty, what I'm looking for overall when people are doing their recordings at home is that they sing just like they would in a concert. That kind of level of power and energy and physicality. And put the phone far enough away or adjust the gain, we can talk about that, so that you're not overpowering your recording device. But what I don't want to have happen is for people to hold themselves back and to not sing with their best technique because they think they might get distortion on their recording. Move the recording device, adjust the recorder rather than adjusting you. Because if I end up with only voices singing at kind of quiet, soft, gentle qualities, we can't really have very dramatic sections in the piece because the vocal power just isn't there. Yeah. Does that make sense? Tell me, other people ask me questions or tell me what you're hearing so far.
if you don't go to distortion, you've got tremendous control in GarageBand to mix it.
Yeah, you mean I do?
You do.
Yes, I do. But I have a lot more control. Yeah. I think we're saying the same thing.
We are. I'm just saying, if as long as we're not distorting on the top end, you don't have a problem because you can always control the individual gain per track.
Yes, and so the two possible problems of this sort that I might have with vocal tracks are it's too quiet and I can't boost you enough to be so that you can be heard in the mix, and the other is it's too loud and it's distorted and I can't bring it down to make it fit. It's going to be clipping and horrible sounding. And actually, I mentioned how I'm working with Eric on his recording. I think maybe he hasn't done very much recording of this sort because his first tracks were clipped and distorted. And then I said, okay, let's adjust the length or the gain. And then his next track after that was too quiet. And I was afraid that the 30 or 40 or 60 vocal tracks that we'll have would drown him out, even if I had him boosted all the way up. So I had to have him, he's recording it again, so that I can have him right in the middle where he needs to be, not distorted and not too quiet. So, okay, I know Mark had a question, but first Ed.
I found that when I got rid of some of the heebie-jeebies and just settled down, all of a sudden I was singing.
Yeah.
The thinking sort of stops and you're just singing again.
Yep.
So
yep.
Good.
That's all there is to it. Yeah, good. Thanks, Ed. Mark and then Peggy.
Well, I was just looking at the text here of the music, and I think what I understood Marty to be saying was that on page like 14 is the last time there's any thing about volume.
Right.
Forte at the top, and from there all the way to page 20, the last page, there's nothing as to.
Forte on 19.
Oh,
yeah.
Forte on 19. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a mark down on the bass that's also forte, so
it's pretty full.
I guess I would interpret that we brought it up and then we kind of maintain that as we move on.
Yeah, I think, like Bob was just saying, I have a lot of control over the volume level of the whole group as we go through sections. So I can, if an individual voice, or even if all the voices are too much at a certain point, I can bring it down and I can adjust that. But again, and so the answer then, Marty, is sing it full out, sing it forte through the end there. And if you find that it's not pleasant sound, if it's distorted, then adjust. But go ahead and sing comfortably fully through the end of the song. Okay, yes, Stephanie.
Wouldn't it be good also to sing out enough that you're supporting so you're not going flat?
Yes, that's definitely important too. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, because that's what happens when you don't support, is your tone gets airy and breathy and your pitch tends to go down. And also your rhythm can be a little bit less crisp if you're not supporting it. So, okay, let's move on, unless there are any more questions about Sing On. I know there are some spots, there are some things that going into the upper range that some altos have let me know they would like to work on that some more, and so we'll get to that some more next time. But Betelehamu, want to tell you that Patrick and Steve have both gotten back to me, and they're both involved. They're excited. They say it sounds like fun. So they'll both be doing percussion tracks for us, which means we're going to have an awesome percussion section. Now, as I've said before, you are welcome to do percussion things as well. So I will be happy to take your track submissions of hand percussion parts and fit them in some way. But we have Patrick and Steve to do the bases, the basics stuff, the big stuff, the flashy stuff. Okay, but I wanted to, let's see, Betelehamu. Let's go to the beginning of Betelehamu and just go through the first part. And actually, anybody who's got their phone handy, you could record yourself right now. You could do it right now and send it to me, just that first section, see how it goes. Don't worry about it, okay? But you don't have to. Just a thought, you know. Any one of these rehearsals that we're working on, when we do a longer section of a song, you could record that and make that be something that you submit to me. So it's something to think about. All right, so I'm pulling up Betelehemu while we're talking here, and then I'm going to share that and play that for you. Come on, Betelehemu, let's go. Okay, so we'll start at the beginning, and I'm just going to have you sing through. You could have your straw handy and sing this with the straw phonation if you want, or you can just do it on the actual text. But also let's, because we got so many different parts going on, let's hear. Okay, so there's the bass, there's the B flat for the bass, and there's the F for the tenors, and that means the A, the D for the altos, and the G. Thank you, Stephanie's got a piano right there, so she's gonna give us pitches also. All right, here we go. I'm gonna just go ahead and run this first section for a while and give you a chance to sing a little bit with it. Tenors, here's the practice. 2, 1, 2. You know what? I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you. I don't know how many of you got that entrance because it was a little confusing. I'm going to conduct this time. So here we go. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2. Here's your first pitches. Stagger breathe when you need to, altos and sopranos. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm actually going to stop before we go on. And so now I'm going to come back out of that. I'm curious, before we go on, altos, sopranos, I don't know if any of you did that with the straw like I did, but did any of you pay attention to the quality of your breath in between the phrases and maybe think back to how it felt with the straw phonation? Any thoughts about that? Doesn't have to be, but I just wanted to remind you about that that's something to think about whenever you sing this piece, is to let your breath come in comfortably and easily in between each one of those phrases. Okay, let's go on, and when we do that, I think I want you to speak the words in rhythm. I was thinking that it would be really helpful for you to speak these words in rhythm so much that they are just totally familiar and comfortable for you, that you should do it on a regular basis and for several times, so that it's not just something you do a few times and then try and then think that maybe that would be enough. It probably won't be. You probably need to spend some time with these words. I considered the possibility, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Stephanie, I might need your help on this. I would like to know, let's see, I'm going to share this, actually, I'm going to share it again with you, and I'm going to play this section once again. Okay, stopping sharing that. Now, Koizi the other day said, wow, that seems fast. It's faster than it has been in the past when we've done it. And I said, hem, ha, but it has occurred to me that it's in our interest to give you the materials that you need, that we can do this in a successful way. So it's really important to me that if it feels like this is too fast, it's not just a matter of me saying, well, learn it, get better. That's not maybe the best response. Perhaps a better response is, let me poll the group and see how many people would feel like they would be much more comfortable if this was a little bit slower. So if you want it to be, and what this means, yes, this means that I would re-record the practice guides, but better now than later, because later there won't be any possibility of this. It's got to be now or not. So I would like to see the hands up for people who would like it to be a little bit slower. And it needs to be a majority thing. Okay, and I'm not seeing a majority. I'm seeing, actually, how many are you counting there, Stephanie?
4, 5, 6.
Yeah, okay. I think
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry to tease you with that. If it had been like the whole screen goes like, wah, then I probably would have done it, but I think I'm not going to. So sorry, folks that would have liked it. I'm going to leave that alone and I'll keep it at the tempo. And yes, it just means we got to practice it some more. So first of all, let's speak it in rhythm. And remember that there are resources on the website that will help you with this. Speaking in rhythm, singing in rhythm. Let's see, so 1, 2, 3, pop, a little bit slower. Going to speak the words in rhythm, starting at letter C on page 3. 1 and 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, ready. Awa yori baba bochule. Awa yori baba fehenti. Awa yori baba bochule. Awa yori baba fehenti. Nibola bi Yesu, Nibola bebi, Nibola bi Yesu, Nibola bebi, Betelehemu iluara, Nibela bi baba otaju, Betelehemu iluara. Ni bela bi baba otaju. Ian ni funo. Ian ni funo. Adupe funo. Adupe funo, adupe funo, jo oni papa oloreo. Ian funo baba, Ian funo baba, Ian funo baba anu, baba toda washi. Fading out. Okay, I'm curious. What spots? Let me frame this a little bit. For any given person, any given singer, some of these sections are going to be easy and some are going to be harder. I'm not sure if it's a pretty consistent thing that the same spots are hard for most people or if it varies from person to person. I'm thinking the adupe, like for example, top page 5, at letter G, adupe funo, right? That spot, and then the next page, in funo baba. Those spots I'm thinking are probably not too hard for people, but I'm not sure. Let me get a read from you. Are those spots hard for anybody? Specifically letter G. Is G pretty straightforward for people? Working backward then, bottom of page 4, the spot where we say betelehemu, and it's a duple against a triple. Is there anyone who's finding that to be difficult? And I'm scanning, I'm looking at people, I'm not seeing. Okay, Candy. So Candy would, let's work on this just a little bit, this feeling of 2 against 3, right? Now, of course, the standard example that we often use is, I can't remember actually now. never mind. No, I'm not going to say that. So, because I don't think it's going to help. But so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do this. We're just going to experiment and practice a little bit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And say 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And switch back to the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Switch back to the 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. It's that kind of changing back and forth that is the same thing that we do, except we go from 2 to 3 at the bottom of page 4. So be te le he mu pa 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 da pa 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 pa, going back and forth between the 2 and the 3. If you can subdivide it that way, if you can take out the words, not worry about the words, and just make sure that you're solid on that transition between 3 and 2. Stephanie, you got any comments to say about going back and forth between 3 and 2?
Just keeping the strong beat, the 1 and the 2. We were in the chat, we were talking about swaying. The swaying really helps. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2, and you're just swaying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're feeling, you're putting the stress on those big beats. That goes along with what I was saying about moving when you're rehearsing, moving when you're singing, when you're recording. Okay, Candy, coming back to you. Now, I could ask you, are you comfortable speaking it out loud and seeing how you do, or do you want not to do that?
Well, my problem is just the pronunciation of all the words. That's where I'm struggling the most.
Okay.
And I liked following with you. I thought that was very helpful for me.
Okay.
So yeah, if we can do that several times, and I just need to keep going over it so I feel more comfortable with the pronunciation of these words.
Right. And you know, I was thinking about, thank you, Kennedy. I was thinking about ways that you approach working on songs, and I've talked to the group about this before, but just to reiterate, I think of it as a three-legged stool of music, right? There's rhythm in choral music. There's rhythm, there's pitches, and there's words, right? So in this case, you can take out one of those legs or two of those legs and just work with the remaining leg. So if the words are a challenge, then you take them apart and you just say, Betelehemu iluara. Candy, say, mu iluara. Mu iluara. I love to say it with a sort of fruity quality. Muila, because that makes it more fun. So then you go back and you add the measure before, Betelehemu, and you become comfortable with it because it becomes something you've said a dozen times. And then perhaps you think about the rhythm, Betelehemu, although we really should set up that 1-2 pulse that Stephanie was talking about, 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and Betelehemu iluara. Betelehemu iluara. We're looping that. Betelehemu iluara. Then when we get to the third measure and the fourth measure, we're firmly back into the triple, into the 6-8 there. Ni bela bi baba odaju again. Ni bela bi baba odaju. Once again. Ni bela bi baba odaju. So we go back and we put both of those parts together and we say 1, 2. Betelehemu iluara. Ni bela bi baba odaju. Betelehemu iluara. Ni bela bi baba odaju. One thing that would be helpful, I think, also is to go and watch the Morehouse Glee Club video. I'm gonna, do I have that post? Do I still have that link on the website? I don't know. Morehouse College, I'm typing this into the chat, Glee Club. They were one of the first groups to really make it popular in the United States. And you watch them, you watch the way they move when they sing this, and you watch the clapping. They do this duple, this clapping that really stresses that change in rhythm. So if they've been going like Nibola bi Yesu, Nibola bi and Betelehemu iluara, Nibela bi baba odaju, Betelehemu iluara. And did we do that in the concert before? I think we did. Yeah, but I know Candy wasn't there at that time when we did that. So Candy, that clapping actually physicalizes that change in rhythm, that shift to the duple, which can be a helpful thing too. Okay, other things, other spots. Brian, is that you?
Yeah, I've seen it come up before. Karen was asking in chat about it a minute ago. The pronunciation, or how we get past the word gbojule.
Gbojule, yeah.
Did we just leave the G off a little bit, or is it, what's the best approach to that?
Well, yeah, I'd say definitely leave the G off a little bit. You know, you could have a little trouble with that for sure. But I think I think for me, the G is part of the fun of saying these words. It kind of, I have no familiarity with African languages, and so it's something that I come to as a stranger, but it feels fun to say, and I imagine that I'm getting something close to a sound that somebody would make. And then that becomes part of the rhythm of the song. That becomes part of what the little constant feeling of that is articulated by the G. So I'll explain what I mean here a little bit more clearly. So it's still in rhythm. The G is the 16th note. Can you say that, Brian? Do you want to try it? Yeah, that's fine. And it doesn't have to be a bigger deal than that. That's plenty of gabe for me. Does that sort of answer your question? Is it a matter of getting used to it?
I think when it's gbojule, it's the same kind of a thing. You just break down the beat a little bit.
Yep, gbojule, gbo. Yep, that's fine. So we were working our way back, phrase sort of section by section, and we spent a little time on page 4, bottom score. Now we're talking about bottom of 3, top of 4, the Nibola Biesu. Bases, are you having any trouble coming out of your letter C into letter D? Is that something that works for you, or a struggle?
It's a struggle.
Okay. Other bases also? Not seeing, but I don't know. So, so we talk about that. We talk about page 3, top score. We'll start there. Second score at letter C. Awa yori babak bochule. Right. Once again, we're solidly in 6/8 here. It's going to feel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And bases, when you come into the bottom of page 3, you got to surprise yourself. It's got to be a surprise every time. So you're going to say, if I was reading the bass part at letter C, second time through, it would be awa yori babak bochule, awa yori baba fe nibola. Right? Let's just do that much basses. So we're going to start at letter C, second time through, and you're going to be ready for the baba fe nibola, and kind of lunge at it carefully. All right, here we go. Letter C, basses, second time. 1, 2, 3, ready. Awa yori babak bojule, awa yori baba fe nibola. And that's all we need to do. Once you get to that point, you can hang out on la, bi, and you really don't have to count very hard for a little while. Let's go back to letter C, basses once again. And 1, 2, 3, ready. Awa yori babak bojule, awa yori baba fe nibola bi Yesu nibola bi nibola bi Yesu nibola bi Betlehemu iluara. And we'll stop there. All right, so basses coming into that spot then, baba fe nibola. You could also, we've done this in rehearsals at Presbyterian Church, where we put in some sort of physical action to represent a rest. And that's another way. And I was kind of doing that by whacking the screen or whacking something on the measure 28 there. If we think of it as like letter C once again, awa yori babak bochule, awa yori baba fe nibola. put a clap in there, put a snap in there on that rest on the 4th, 8th note of measure 28. If you do that, try to be careful that when you're recording, you don't actually do that so it's not audible in the recording, right? But build a habit build a habit that that's part of your sense of the rhythm of this part, that rest has energy and excitement in it, even though you're stopping singing at that moment. Okay, I'm gonna leave that. Anybody else, any other sections? Letter C through letter G, any spots that we need to work on? Marty, hang on. Marty, I got Marty. I'm looking for other hands and seeing Bob also. Okay, and Stephanie, did you have something?
Yeah, I would like F.
F, okay. So
I've been working on it, but if you have helpful hints, that would be great.
Sure, F from Marty, and then Bob, what did you want to look at?
One, ever since we first did this thing, it's been extremely important to me to keep track of where the downbeats are. 1, 2, you either have 3 beats to that or 2 beats to that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep track of where the downbeat is, you keep going anyway.
Yeah. Even
question about, say, measure 25. Baba, well, Julia, we're saying Yesu. Is that J?
Yeah, you know, that question I think came up and I hadn't quite answered it, I think. But we're going to say Jule and we're going to say Yesu. Now, I'm not sure. I listened and listened and listened to some recordings, and actually people do it differently. And sometimes they do it differently even in the same performance. And it's also possible that Yesu is a word not from the language, and Baba Gbojule is from the language, and so they're pronounced differently. Just like, for example, in French, certain words that are not French, the consonants are pronounced in a different way. They're not consistent to our eyes, but it's something to do with the rules of the language that we just don't know. That could be just a good rationalization. I don't know. But the bottom line is, say Baba Gbojule and say Nibolabi Yesu. So Yesu Jule. Yes, there's an inconsistency. Is that clear enough? Okay. All right. So I think that was your spots then. And Marty asked for letter F. So Ian. Again, Marty actually is, were there spots, was it the that 5th, 8th note in those first couple measures that's the tricky part, or something else?
Yes, it's the 5th, 8th note, and I feel like I'm putting it on not accurately.
Well, let's experiment with doing it wrong. Don't learn this, okay? Don't learn this. But if you think about it, so Ian, that would be wrong, right? That would be on that 4th, 8th note of the measure. And it's not that kind of feeling at all. It's Ian, right? So again, we have that feeling of 1, 2. Can everybody chop with me? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, yun, 1, 2, yun, 1, 2, yun, 1, 2, yun. Ian. That is one way to feel it. That it's not when you hit your hand, it's when you come back from it. Ian. And you're changing pitch. Everybody's changing pitch on that 5th, 8th note. So if I was singing an E flat, so Ian. Another way to think about it also is that 4th measure, top of page 5, the funo, those 8th notes, the A natural and the C lead to the B flat in the next measure. Oh, right, you can feel that momentum leads into the next measure. It's not part of what we've been doing. So in a way, it kind of throws you forward into the next measure. It's a way to think about the rhythm. Stephanie, other things that you might add to help with this rhythm?
You still have to feel that it's in 3 and not 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So everybody could, No, that's fine. Everybody could do that as a rhythm. So just saying one as a practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another way to do it. So everybody choose your own adventure. Say either 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you notice I'm always doing these inflections when I speak it so that you can hear where I'm thinking of that rhythmic impulse happening. But I want you to do that also so that you feel it in the same way, ideally. All right, Marty, have these, there's a style of teaching where it's called the spaghetti method, where you throw things against the wall and you see what sticks, right? So is any of that stuck, Marty?
Yes, I think so. I guess I need to record myself and then listen to myself afterward. My fear was that I was hitting a little bit after the 5th, but not quite on the 6th.
Mm-hmm. You know, if I asked you to do that you would probably find it really hard to do it intentionally,
really?
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Can I do that? I don't know if I can really do it without. Yeah. So I'm not going to try to do it wrong. Never mind. I think a little bit of head bobbing actually occurs to me that might be useful. A little bit of head banging. So Ian. It feels when my head comes up, that's the place to say the yin, right? Iyan, iyan, it's another way to think about it. Again, I'm encouraging you to move as you sing and record. Okay, so last call for spots in this area of Betelehemu. Thank you for oh my gosh, we didn't do a second. Break. I saw somebody go, so I thought, I made you go too long. Well, we'll just do a few more minutes and then we'll be done. And then you can rest. So what I want to do for the remainder of the time this evening is a little bit of solstice song. So go ahead and pull out your music if you printed that. I'm going to just make some comments. I'm interested to see, I'm going to ask you in a moment who has not sung this piece, but not quite yet. Let's see, what else do I have to share with you? Sorry, very important thing about Betelehemu. You don't have to go back to your music. As you know, there's a solo towards the end of it. Right? There are variations on that solo. I did one version. I recorded me. I'm in the recording. I could take me out of the recording. I can leave me in the recording. Either way. But I would like to encourage anybody who's interested to record that solo or variations thereof. I remember Randy did the solo the first time we did the Betelehemu with me. And I think, Phil, you did it as well. Is that right? You don't have to comment, but I think that's right. So, but I have this idea that's a possibility. Often the way that Betelehemu is staged, if you will, in live performances is that this the soloist is kind of like the person coming from a distance to tell this story to the rest of the choir. And sometimes it's people kind of talk to each other on stage. They don't actually sing. They're like, they're saying things and they're conveying the idea of this message spreading across the group. So what I had in mind as a possible way to work on this area is that several people could record that solo or improvise different variations on it, harmonies above and below it, things like that. And you can send me those recordings and I can add those in the mix of the recording. And so one voice will start that solo bit and then another voice will start maybe at a different part in the sonic space. And so that the message is spreading and adding and more voices saying it. I think it'll be a cool effect. But that means that several of you need to sing it for me and send me recordings. You don't have to. If you're up for it, go for it. And it doesn't have to be high in your range. You could take it down the octave if that's a more comfortable place for you. We can do, because after all, diversity in this message, and these people sharing this message is part of the story too. So that's fine with me. All right, that's enough of that. Now to Solstice Song. What I'd like to see is a show of hands of people who have not sung this song with the chorale. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's more than I thought. That's good. That means several of us are getting to know it for the first time. So that's cool. All right. My plan tonight is to play my recording with you with all the parts. But I want to point out a couple things, not going too late here, that the tempo that we have is fast enough that it's one of those tempos it's fast enough that I was trying to go bum dee dee da 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 da. It's annoying to conduct that way. But if I go da 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 dee da 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 da, there's not a lot of information that I can convey in one. So it's an awkward place for me to conduct when I do conduct it. I'll probably conduct in 3 for the, I don't know, I'll figure that out for the video click tracks. But what you need to do is to find for yourself how it feels to feel this song in 3 and how it feels to feel it in 1. Right, okay, and then part of that, if you look at your sheet music, where's my sheet music? If you look at your sheet music, you'll see that a lot of the song is really straightforward in terms of rhythm. There's not a lot of odd syncopations until you get to the chorus on the top of page 4 at letter C. And it's not a lot, but there's a couple. So if we go heart of creation, right? It's the same sort of thing we were working on in Sing On, with those places where the syncopation highlights a syllable within the phrase. And that's part of how you can discover the correct rhythm. And part of how you can internalize it is by being aware of the way that certain syllables are being stressed. So if I were to read the first couple lines on page 4, and I'm in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, that's the tempo I'm at. You can say it with me if you want, but listen for the rhythm and the way the syncopation is. I'm going to mute everybody. Hang on. Okay, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 1. Heart of creation, lover of shadow and light, sing us the songs of a billion stars, silently all through the night. Everything else in the song, except for the solo section at letter E, which can be a solo for everybody, everything else is pretty much straight quarter notes and half notes. There's not a lot of odd rhythms. It's just in these few measures that we get the syncopation. So I want you to be aware of that and listen for that and prepare to go with the flow in those spots. So let's see, that was basically what I wanted to tell you for now. Let's do this though. Before we listen to the whole thing, I would like you to, I'm gonna share the screen with you. And I'd like you to listen just for a moment, and I would like you to move your body in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or in 1, 1, 1, 1. I would like you to go back and forth, feeling those 2 different ways of approaching the rhythm. Okay, we're going to start here. Oh, sorry, I gotta shift, close, and I gotta shift. Don't save. Solstice Song. Okay. All right, so you know what? Actually, we'll just go ahead and play the song, and you can listen to it. And you can move. You can stop moving when you want to stop moving. Thanks to Stephanie. I love the playing that she did on this. It's fun. It was great to sing it with her. So here's the tenor part. A little fast. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Deep in the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light, now that the year is turning.
Tenor spaces.
What does the future hold in store? Where has our journey brought us? How can
Skate. Piano comes in.
Heart of creation, lover of shadow and light, sing us the songs of a billion stars, silently all through the night. Even the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light, now that the year is turning. Feel how the year is turning.
Okay, so just to give you a glimpse of the song, we'll spend more time on that next week. Betlehemu should be available in video click track form in the next few days, so you can start recording that if you want. Remember that it's okay to do portions of the song. And so you could start with sending me the first section, especially tenors and basses, the Betlehemu. Sopranos and altos might find that to be challenging given the long phrases, but you could also start with that too. So it gives me something to work with if you give me those tracks sooner than later. Yes, Mark, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure we send these as an attachment to your own personal email.
Yes, that's right. Now it is possible you can just do this real quick. I'm going to share my computer screen with you again, and I'm going to go over here to our website, to the member page. I don't know how to get there faster than this. So when you go down here to the making and submitting recordings section, Brian has added something here. You can click here to try uploading via the web. So that means that you don't have to send it through email. You could submit it, you could upload it here. You click this, and then Brian has included some more information. It's really simple. You find the file on your computer, and then you submit it. And when you submit it, it doesn't show you anything. It just kind of sits there, and you wonder, did that work? Yes, it probably worked. And you'll either get an error message or you'll get a success message. But that's all you have to do. So you can try uploading your files this way, or you can send them to me by email as we've done this first set with Sing On. So either way.
Thank you.
Yep, so stop sharing that. Just start playing with Solstice Song, and I think that's all I have to say. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, I'm sorry I set the tempo too fast in our practicing for Solstice Song. I got excited, but it's a little bit slower and a little bit more staid than that, which is good. We don't need it to be fast. So, sorry, I forgot one thing, very important, and I shouldn't have waited until you were all tired to say this, but it has occurred to, it was actually Lorraine's idea. I'll give her the credit or the blame. She suggested that we could use another song, another peppy, upbeat song. And we talked about it, and Santa Gets a Suntan Down Under would be fun to do. It's familiar to the group, so you know it, and probably wouldn't be that hard to put together. Plus, I have the further idea of contacting Vince and all the players who played with us last year in December and have them record their instrumental parts at home and become part of this audio track overall. So I'm in process with that. I've contacted David Hamilton in New Zealand, and he's up for it. He sent me files that I needed, and actually he is planning to be available on the day of our concert to be there as a special guest for our Zoom concert on Friday, December 11th at 7:30. So I'm excited about that. We might have guests from Ireland and New Zealand at our concert, as well as other places, I'm sure. So just wanted to let you know that I've started to record the practice guides for Santa already, and I'll get that done pretty quick here too. So, all right. So just thought hopefully you're all up for that, and you can record that one too. So anything else? We can all say goodbye and thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Adam.
Night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night,
Night.
everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
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 Good night. Good night.
Goodbye.
Yes.
Adam,
Yep.
when Mr. Blank, Ray Blank was my band director way back in high school 30-something years ago, we had a song with Christmas bells on it that was 2 against 3.
Oh, yes.
And he made us, it was like constantly, I still do that.
Yeah.
It was a great thing because when we have things like this, all it takes is I just go right back to that. I mean, he had the whole band drumming that on our stands until we got it in our heads. So
Excellent.
it's very helpful for things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fun too.
Silver
Yeah.
bells. Sweet silver bells. Sweet silver bells.
Is that what that was? It was on the poor the chime player was going nuts. She had to do it. She was like the soloist or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. That was my sharing moment.
Thank you. Judy, go ahead.
I haven't tried sending anything yet because I can barely get my things to keep working. I have recorded a little bit of Bethlehemu that we did tonight. I've renamed it. I'm trying to figure out what else I can do. I'm supposed to send it to your email.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't even know how to get back to that. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what is your email? It's just Adam.
It's last name, first initial, Burdick A @frontier.com.
At frontier.com.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see what happens.
Okay. Maybe I'll see it come in here shortly. So
thanks.
Thank you, Judy. Good. Peter, you got a question? Just sticking around? Okay. Yeah, and Stephanie, you have something for me, or?
Yeah, I was just noticing that when you conducted Sing On, it was exactly in sync. But then with Bethlehemu and Solstice, it was about a beat off.
Yeah, we found that sometimes I forget. Yeah, I tend to forget that sometimes, and I just go ahead and conduct because people are telling me that it's useful when it's in sync. There's something about the way Zoom processes audio and video, and they're separate and then they're recombined and something like that makes it. Yeah, that's
Well, I was just intrigued because Sing On, it was exactly right, and Karen Lindahl said, "Oh wow, it would be so great. That's what I've been missing is the visual." And I don't know whether there's a way for you to dub in a visual track. I don't think there is, though.
Well, that's what the video click tracks are.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked at those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, so that's done already for that one, and that's what I'm working on now for Bethlehemu. And each one of the songs that we're recording will have video click tracks, and it's not just one video. I actually conduct each part separately, so I conduct the basses separately, etc. Yeah, just because they're a little bit different, and I want them to see what they expect to see in terms of their part. So
even more work than I thought. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it
is. That's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. It was good to have you here, Stephanie. So,
Thanks. I appreciate you including me on so many different points, but I enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any way that I can get a copy of Bethlehemu? Is there a PDF on the site?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
yeah, check out all the, actually you've done enough recording also now that you might have some things to add to my instructions about recording.
Okay.
Things like that. So just take a look at my page about that and see.
Will, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Stephanie.
What's left of it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Peter, anything you want to comment on? Just hanging out, and Judy and Pat.
Out listening.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the meeting then.
Okay.
And okay. All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Take care.